I just wanted to do a quick little follow-up video of cons about these things and some pros maybe. Uh, well, I'll do some pros first. Pros, love the boat. Um, Inexpensive if you're not sure you want to really get into boating, or you don't have a lot of space to store a boat, or you don't live near water or not big lakes, that sort of thing. You're not a big boater kind of person. You don't want to really, you want something bigger in a kayak or a canoe, something that's powered. These things are great. They're inexpensive on Amazon. They work really well. Uh, that's the best part, is they're easy to get into, which leads into a con. Depending on where you live, finding a trailer can be pretty hard, because it's not a standard trailer. It's not a standard boat, and it's not a standard trailer. You can, this trailer, I did a video on this trailer. This is a trailer I made from a bolt together trailer. And so, you can see that video to see how I did it. But, that's it's a inexpensive boat to get into, but your con is you're probably going to end up having to make your own trailer, or as some people do, you can just deflate them, fold them up depending on the size of your vehicle. You can fold it up and just carry it with you in your vehicle, like in your back, in the bed of your truck. Fold it up, carry it in your bed of your truck. I mean, people do it. Depending on the size of the outboard you poured on it, that may be an option for you. If you have a small 10 horse, not super heavy outboard, that may be an option. We had a small 4-horse outboard. It was easy just to throw it on the back of it. It didn't have any power, but for portability, it was great. With this 20 horse, not really an option. That thing weighs too much to be lugging it in and out of the back of a truck. And with a trailer, there's really no need for it. That would be the con. Of course, it comes, the boat comes as is. It doesn't come with this canopy. I've added this canopy. It just comes with these aluminum benches. And this one has an aluminum floor in it. And that's, paddles. And that's all you cut. These things are very customizable, which for me, that's a pro for me, because I do like customizing, and it gives me, all kinds of things to do with it. The building the trailer, customizing the boat, adding these D hooks here for the canopy, all that sort of stuff. Because there's one, you have to add them on, because it doesn't come with them. You could probably hook onto here, but these are flexible. You could probably hook into these rings if you really tried. But I added these. Customization is the key with these. I do add it, expect to add seating to this at some point. And so that's, to me, that would be a pro. I would say another, a con with this is, the size of the keel on these things. This thing has got it's, the keel on these things they're super wide, right? I don't know if you can really tell, but that's a good 6 to 8 inches wide on there, on the width on that keel. This thing does not cut water. It tends to plow through it, and so it tends to make quite the wake, which is a con if you're traveling at any sort of speed, because it makes waves, but it is what it is. People don't expect you not to make waves, but if you're around other boaters, you may need to slow it down so as you're not being too crazy. If you're you may want to, if you're around like kayakers and canoers and that sort of thing, you don't want to go too crazy, make huge waves and rock them around, because they're gonna hate you. I hated that when I was on a kayak. People go flying by on their boat and toss you around. It's disrespectful. So this thing makes big waves. I think the other con that I would call is, you can see how I have it up on a board right now. That keel is inflatable, and any water that gets in the boat collects in that keel, and that's in the front of the boat. It's not in the back. And if you're washing it, which I just got done doing, all the water that's in there collects in that area. It's just, that's the way they're made. Since the keel is inflatable, it has to inflate that much of the boat, and so that part of it tends to be lower, and that's where all the water collects, which is a pain. And of course, the suggestion that people give, which I find is funny, is they're just like, oh, we'll just get going fast and pull the drain plug out, and all the water will slosh out the back, and then put the drain plug back in before you slow down, because it's a one-way valve. And I'm like, well, it may be a one-way valve, but that one-way valve does not work very well. I have forgotten it and then remembered it and had water in the bottom of the boat. It does not, you don't notice it, because it will, the way these things float is the water, if it's just sitting, will not come above the floor. But you will notice it if you pull up anywhere, and when you pull it out of the water or something, so just a ton of water comes flying out the back of this thing. So, you always want to keep that in mind. You got to make sure you put the drain plug in, and it's still dripping now. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but it's still dripping. And I can probably push this thing up another couple of feet, angle it up more, and more water will come out of it. These things hold water. I don't know. It's just it's grotesque. I mean, you can comment below. I've thought about deflating the keel and seeing if that would help with that. Just deflate the keel and see if that helps push the water out, then inflating it before I go boating. Don't know if that would be a pain or not. It doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun, because there's the keel drains there. It's doable, but it's less wear and tear on me if I just leave it inflated and jack it up or lift it up, because it's not super heavy, but it's also not super light. So comment below. Tell me what you think about that idea. I think that would be a bit, that's a con, having the fact that all that water collects in there. And of course, the people with their brilliant ideas, that just reach down there, while the motor's running, and pull that drain plug out, while that prop's spinning. I'm not going to put my hand in the prop, but I'm also not thinking that while the boat is moving at any sort of velocity, of putting my hand down there in the water near a spinning prop. I mean, that's just me. I like my fingers. I like the way they're attached to my hand, and I don't need them down there. So we're not doing that. So I will just remember, put the plug in, or try to remember. And if I do remember, if I'm suddenly on the water and I remember, then it will be, oh crap, turn the motor off, stick the plug in, and worry about it later when I get it out of the water. Because these things, as long as there's air in these tubes, these things will float. I don't know how you could possibly sink one of these things if the tubes are full of air. You could probably fill it full of water and the thing would still float like some sort of bathtub. Honestly, if you plugged the drain plug and filled the whole thing full of water, it would probably be like a floating swimming pool. They're ridiculous how much buoyancy these things have, because you can stand on them, on the tubes, and they will just hold you up and barely move. And I weigh, almost 200 pounds. So, these things are rated. This one's rated for 6 people, 25-pound motor. This is a 380. It's a Bris 380. I don't know how well you can see that. It's a 380. It's rated for 6 people. One skinny child, I guess, or one child of some sort. 760 kilograms, which is a lot, and a 25 horsepower motor. So luggage, people, children, motor, 760 kilograms. And that's at 3.6 bars on the tubes, or 3.6 psi on the tubes. So, this thing will hold a lot, without issue. So that's a bonus. That would definitely be a pro in this case, is they will hold weight for days. I think another pro for these is, it can be storage is a good pro, because you can deflate them, fold them up, and store them away if you have the area for it. We stored it last year over winter time, because where we live in the Northeast, there's no boating in the winter. Everything's frozen over, so you're not going boating. But unfortunately, the mice got at it, and we only had one little problem, and they chewed on it a little bit here, and they did put a little bit of hole right there that I had to patch. Oh, and they chewed it right there. That was the only problem we had. I didn't find any other holes in it. So, I think this year we're going to try a different method, which was suggested, which is to deflate everything. Just let the air out of the tubes, let everything, leave it on the trailer, let the air out of the tubes, cover it with the boat cover, flat, take the motor off, of course, store that away, leave it on the trailer, deflate it, and just store it outside. Cover it really well, because it's essentially, with the way I made this trailer is just wide enough that I think the floor is on the edge of the trailer. And if it's not, I can fix that. I can put some boards under it once it's deflated to hold it up, or do something with it. But I think we may try that this year, instead of storing it with the mice, because that's a pain, dealing with the mice, carrying this big thing around. This thing it's not light, all on its own. It's not light. I think it's 150 pounds or so, deflated, with none of the gear on it, with no seats, no aluminum floor, just the tubes themselves. Just the PVC is a couple 100 pounds, or 150 pounds or so. You add all the other stuff, and the motor is, 100 pounds. You're adding in another 100 pounds worth of aluminum and canopies and stuff. So, you're looking at probably 300 pounds, 350, 300 to 400 pounds worth of boat, with the motor and all the aluminum and everything in it. So, trailer's rated to 1,000, when it's new. So, before the modifications. I don't know what it's rated to now. Don't have that kind of degree. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll be, answer them as best I can. If you have any comments, they're good comments. I'd love to hear them. If you have any suggestions, love to hear those too. Just leave them below. Thanks for watching.